20 black celebrities with disabled children you didn't know about. We celebrate their success, follow their careers, and admire their talent. But what we don't often see is the private side, the silent battles they face as parents. Behind the fame, these 20 black celebrities are raising children with disabilities, facing challenges most of us never imagine. From autism to developmental delays, their stories are not about pity, but about power, love, and resilience. These are stories the media rarely tells, until now. Get ready to see a side of these stars you've never seen before, and it just might change how you see them forever. Toni Braxton. Toni Braxton may be a household name in R&B, but what many fans don't know is that she's also the mother of a child with autism. Her younger son, Diesel Kai Braxton Lewis, was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3, a moment that changed her life forever. Born in October 2003, Diesel began showing early signs of developmental delays around 18 months. He stopped making eye contact, struggled with communication, and withdrew from social interaction. When doctors confirmed he had autism spectrum disorder, ASD, Toni was devastated. She has publicly admitted that the diagnosis triggered deep emotional turmoil. In one of her most vulnerable interviews, she tearfully confessed on talk shows that she carried intense guilt, partly because she had an abortion before Diesel was born. She said, "I thought it was God's punishment." Despite her initial grief, Toni refused to stay silent. She used her platform to speak openly about the challenges of raising a child with autism, especially as a single working mother in the public eye. She became a passionate advocate for early intervention, and in 2012, she partnered with Autism Speaks, one of the largest autism advocacy organizations in the U.S. She has emphasized the importance of speech therapy, structured learning environments, and individualized support. Thanks to early intervention and continuous care, Diesel has made remarkable progress. Today, he's thriving as a teenager and has shown interest in creative arts and technology. Toni's willingness to share her family's journey has helped dismantle stigma in Black communities where conversations around developmental disabilities are still taboo. While millions know her for her voice, Toni Braxton's role as an autism advocate and as a mother who never gave up is equally powerful. Shaquille O'Neal. Most people know Shaquille O'Neal as a towering NBA legend, a 4-time champion, Hall of Famer, and one of the most dominant players in basketball history. But off the court, he faced one of the most terrifying moments any parent can experience, learning that his son was born with a potentially life-threatening heart defect. Sharif O'Neal, his son with ex-wife Shani O'Neal, was diagnosed in 2018 with a condition called anomalous coronary artery. This congenital defect occurs when the coronary artery, which supplies oxygenated blood to the heart muscle, grows in the wrong place. The condition can go undetected and, in young athletes, often leads to sudden cardiac arrest during intense physical activity. Sharif, who had shown great promise as a high school basketball player, began experiencing chest pains and fatigue. A routine checkup revealed the abnormality, prompting immediate action. In December 2018, at just 18 years old, Sharif underwent open-heart surgery to correct the defect. Shaquille was visibly shaken during the ordeal, telling reporters, "It was the first time I had ever felt helpless." The surgery was successful, and Sharif went on to make a courageous return to the basketball court, eventually playing college ball and later joining the NBA G League. Shaq rarely discusses his private life in detail, but when he speaks about his children, his tone shifts. He has publicly praised Sharif's courage, and their bond appears stronger than ever. Though most people associate Shaquille O'Neal with physical dominance, his role as a father facing medical uncertainty shows another side, one of vulnerability, support, and unwavering love. Holly Robinson Peete and Rodney Peete. Actress Holly Robinson Peete and former NFL quarterback Rodney Peete have been public figures for decades, But what many fans didn't realize was how drastically their lives changed in 2000 when their son, Rodney R.J. Peete Jr., was diagnosed with autism at just 3 years old. Early signs included language delays, social withdrawal, and extreme sensitivity to sensory input. At the time, the diagnosis came as a crushing blow. Rodney later admitted he initially struggled to accept it, saying, "I thought it was something I could fix." Hughley, on the other hand, went into research mode, determined to understand and advocate for her son's needs. What followed was a complete family transformation. Instead of hiding RJ's condition, they went public, appearing in interviews, authoring the children's book My Brother Charlie, and later launching a docuseries called For Pete's Sake on OWN. The couple has been especially vocal about the lack of autism awareness in the Black community and the importance of early diagnosis. In 2010, they founded the Hollyrod Foundation, which provides resources for families affected by autism and Parkinson's disease. Thanks to consistent therapies and strong support, RJ has made tremendous progress. Now a young adult, he works for the Los Angeles Dodgers and inspires others with his journey. Hughley and Rodney's story isn't just about their son, it's about how an entire family can adapt, grow, and become advocates. By choosing transparency over shame, they've empowered countless others to do the same. Their story continues to be one of action, community impact, and unconditional love. Tisha Campbell and Dwayne Martin. Known for her vibrant energy and comedic brilliance in hit sitcoms like Martin and My Wife and Kids, Tisha Campbell has entertained millions. But behind the laughter, she's lived through a deeply personal challenge that most fans are unaware of: raising a child on the autism spectrum. Her son, Zen Martin, whom she shares with actor and producer Dwayne Martin, was diagnosed with autism around the age of 18 months. Tisha has been candid about how frightening and isolating those early days were. She noticed that Zen wasn't hitting typical developmental milestones. He wasn't speaking, avoided eye contact, and struggled to connect socially. Getting a formal diagnosis was both a relief and a heartbreak. At a time when autism was rarely discussed in Hollywood, Tisha chose to go public with her story. She became one of the earliest Black celebrities to speak openly about raising a child with autism, challenging stigmas within the entertainment industry and beyond. She emphasizes the importance of early action, stating that Zen began therapy at just 2 years old. With the help of speech, occupational, and behavioral therapy, he made significant strides. Today, Zen is a young adult pursuing a career in music and digital media, fields where he can channel his creativity and unique perspective. Even after her divorce from Dwayne, both parents remain actively involved in their son's life. Tisha often reminds others that being different is not a deficit. Her openness has helped countless families feel seen, especially in communities where discussions about neurodiversity are still limited. Through both her advocacy and her example, Tisha shows that love, acceptance, and persistence can redefine what success looks like for children with autism. Lela Rochon and Antoine Fuqua. Actress Lela Rochon, best known for her roles in Waiting to Exhale, Boomerang, and Any Given Sunday, has long captivated audiences with her grace and strength. Her husband, acclaimed director Antoine Fuqua, known for films like Training Day and The Equalizer, has built an impressive career behind the camera. Yet few know the deeply personal journey they share as parents of a child with autism. Their daughter, Asia Fuqua, was diagnosed with autism during early childhood. The couple has largely kept their private life away from the spotlight, but Lela has occasionally offered glimpses into their experience through heartfelt social media posts. She has spoken of the joy Asia brings to their family and the pride she feels in her daughter's resilience. Unlike some public figures, Lela and Antoine have chosen a more discreet path, focusing on raising their daughter in a supportive, structured environment while using their influence selectively to raise awareness. In brief but powerful moments online, Lela has celebrated Asia's milestones, underscoring the importance of acceptance and understanding. Their quiet strength is a reminder that not all advocacy is loud. Sometimes it's in the everyday commitment, appointments, therapy sessions, adjustments to family routines, that true love and devotion are revealed. Their experience reflects the reality for many parents who juggle demanding careers while navigating the complexities of special needs parenting. Although the couple has faced public scrutiny over the years for unrelated matters, their united front in caring for Asia speaks volumes. They represent families who walk a similar path, fiercely protective, deeply loving, and determined to give their child the best possible future, one step at a time. Chris Rock. Chris Rock is one of the most recognizable figures in stand-up comedy, known for his razor-sharp wit and unfiltered takes on race, family, and politics. But what many don't know is that his life has also been shaped by a neurological condition, nonverbal learning disorder, NVLD, a diagnosis he received as an adult. Though not technically a parent of a disabled child, Chris's story offers a rare perspective. One of a child who struggled for decades before finally getting answers. Growing up in Brooklyn, Chris exhibited signs of social difficulty. He often misread facial expressions, failed to pick up on tone or body language, and had trouble making friends. His mother, Rosalie Rock, an educator, knew something was different. But at the time, there was little awareness or support for such challenges in Black communities. Chris himself only learned of the diagnosis in his mid-50s, after a therapist noticed communication patterns consistent with NVLD. This condition affects one's ability to interpret nonverbal cues, making day-to-day interactions and relationships more difficult. In interviews, Chris has reflected on how this affected everything from his childhood to his career. "I'm great with words," he said, "but I don't pick up on signals." He's been open about how therapy, including 7 hours a week at one point, has helped him better understand himself and others. While Chris Rock isn't raising a child with a disability, his lived experience highlights another critical truth. Many neurodiverse individuals go undiagnosed well into adulthood, particularly in marginalized communities. His mother's early advocacy laid the foundation for his success, and his story underscores the lifelong importance of understanding, diagnosis, and support. Toni Snell. Professional basketball player Toni Snell spent years focused on the game, competing for teams like the Chicago Bulls, Atlanta Hawks, and Portland Trail Blazers. But his most profound revelation didn't come on the court. It came at home after the birth of his son, Carter. In 2021, when Carter was around 18 months old, Toni and his wife noticed developmental delays. Carter wasn't speaking yet and showed signs of repetitive behaviors, known as stimming, which raised concern. Following evaluations, doctors diagnosed Carter with autism spectrum disorder, ASD. That diagnosis would lead Toni down an unexpected personal path. While researching autism to better understand how to support his son, Toni began to recognize many of Carter's traits in himself. The more he learned, the more things made sense. His lifelong discomfort in social settings, difficulty reading nonverbal cues, and deep focus on routine. Encouraged by his wife, Toni underwent testing and was diagnosed with autism at age 31. This dual diagnosis created an extraordinary bond between father and son. "Now I understand myself more," Toni said. "I understand him more. We're alike in ways I never imagined." Instead of being discouraged, Toni embraced the diagnosis. He's used his platform to advocate for autism awareness, especially for late-diagnosed adults and underserved communities. His journey has resonated with countless families navigating similar revelations. Rather than seeing autism as a limitation, Toni sees it as a different way of experiencing the world. His story is a powerful reminder that self-discovery has no age limit, and sometimes understanding your child opens a door to understanding yourself. Nick Cannon. Entertainer, Nick Cannon is no stranger to headlines. Known for hosting The Masked Singer, creating Wild 'N Out, and his expansive work in music, comedy, and television, his name often sparks conversations about fame and fatherhood. Yet, a lesser-known chapter of his life centers around his son, Zillion, who was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, ASD. Zillion is one of Nick's 12 children and his second child with model Abby De La Rosa. While Nick's unconventional family structure has drawn public scrutiny, his dedication to each of his children is something he defends fiercely. When news of Zillion's autism diagnosis became public in 2023, Nick responded not with shame or silence, but with compassion and pride. He spoke candidly about learning to adapt, shifting his parenting approach, and seeking therapies and resources that could support Zillion's development. While details remain limited out of respect for privacy, Nick has acknowledged the unique needs of raising a child with autism, especially within such a large and blended family dynamic. His openness adds an important layer to the public conversation, that neurodiversity exists across all family types, and that even in non-traditional households, love, support, and understanding are what matter most. In interviews, Nick emphasized the importance of being present, listening to his children, and empowering them to be exactly who they are. Though often portrayed as flashy and unpredictable, Nick Cannon's experience as a parent of a neurodivergent child reveals a softer, more grounded side, one defined by learning, growth, and empathy. By acknowledging his son's diagnosis publicly, he's helped normalize the discussion around autism in the Black celebrity community, reminding us that no matter your platform, showing up as a father is what truly counts. Shawn Stockman. As a member of the iconic R&B group Boys II Men, Shawn Stockman helped define the sound of the 1990s with smooth harmonies and heartfelt ballads like End of the Road and I'll Make Love to You. But beyond the fame and platinum records, Shawn has embraced a quieter, more personal mission, raising awareness for autism after his son, Micah, was diagnosed with ASD. Micah, one of Shawn's twin sons with wife Sharonda Jones, was diagnosed in early childhood. The news came as a shock, but instead of retreating, the Stockman family chose to lean in. They sought therapies, created routines, and worked tirelessly to support Micah's development. As Micah grew, so did Shawn's understanding of what it meant to raise a child with special needs. In 2012, Shawn and Sharonda launched Micah's Voice, a nonprofit foundation aimed at helping families affected by autism gain access to financial and emotional support. The organization provides therapy funding, educational resources, and community-building programs. Their mission is deeply personal, born not from charity, but necessity. Shawn has used his platform to address the lack of resources in underserved communities, particularly for Black families. When Micah was diagnosed, he said, "We realized how expensive care is and how few families, especially in our communities, can afford it." He frequently advocates for early intervention, parent education, and public awareness. Today, Micah continues to progress, and his journey remains a source of strength for his parents. For Shawn, being a father to a neurodivergent child has reshaped how he views love, patience, and purpose. Through advocacy and action, he's turned a personal challenge into a public cause, one that continues to give a voice to families who often feel unheard. Cordell Stewart. Former NFL quarterback Cordell Stewart, known to fans as Slash for his dual-threat ability as both a passer and runner, was one of the most exciting players of his era. He made his name with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the late 1990s and later played for the Chicago Bears and Baltimore Ravens. But in retirement, Cordell faced a challenge even more profound than anything on the gridiron, supporting his son, Sire, who was diagnosed with autism. Cordell first noticed Sire's communication difficulties and repetitive behaviors during his toddler years. The diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder came shortly after, and like many parents, Cordell found himself navigating a world that felt unfamiliar and overwhelming. Therapy schedules, educational interventions, sensory sensitivities. It was a learning curve he never expected. But Cordell didn't flinch. Instead, he became an active student of autism, immersing himself in books, support groups, and medical research. Cordell also became a voice for awareness, especially in the Black community, where diagnoses often come later due to systemic barriers and cultural stigma. In interviews, he's urged other fathers to stay engaged, to advocate fiercely, and to recognize the unique brilliance in their children. Though his football career was filled with adrenaline and applause, Cordell Stewart has found even deeper fulfillment in fatherhood. His devotion to sire shows that true leadership isn't just about what you accomplish. It's about how you uplift the people who need you most. D.L. Hughley. Best known for his biting stand-up comedy, political commentary, and role in the original Kings of Comedy, D.L. Hughley has long built a career on saying what others won't. But behind the sharp humor is a father who has quietly faced a deeply personal parenting challenge, raising a son with Asperger's syndrome, now recognized as part of the broader autism spectrum. His son, Kyle Hughley, was diagnosed in childhood, and DL has spoken openly about the emotional and psychological journey of coming to terms with that reality. Early on, he struggled to understand his son's behavior: social withdrawal, strict routines, difficulty adapting to change. As a father who came from a world where emotions were often masked, DL had to learn how to connect on Kyle's terms, not his own. Over time, their relationship evolved from confusion and frustration to deep respect and admiration. DL has publicly praised Kyle's strengths: his intelligence, photographic memory, and loving nature. In one interview, he said, "I had to unlearn how I thought a son should be and start learning who my son really is." DL also uses his platform to highlight the lack of resources and late diagnoses common in Black families dealing with autism. His voice adds an essential layer to the public conversation, particularly as a high-profile Black father who has taken the time to understand, adjust, and support his neurodivergent child. Monica. Grammy-winning R&B singer Monica Arnold first rose to fame in the mid-1990s with soulful hits like Don't Take It Personal and The Boy Is Mine, a chart-topping duet with Brandy. Her music often explored love and strength, but offstage, Monica has lived out those themes in her personal life, most notably in her journey as the mother of a child with a learning disability. Her son, Romulo Montez Hill, was diagnosed with dyslexia, a neurological condition that affects reading and language processing. For Monica, the signs began early. Romulo struggled to keep up with peers in reading comprehension and often became frustrated during schoolwork. Rather than dismiss his challenges, Monica sought answers. The diagnosis provided clarity, and from there, she became a fierce advocate for his education. She has been open about the emotional toll, both on Romulo and herself, as they navigated a school system that often lacks flexibility for students with learning differences. Monica emphasizes that dyslexia is not a reflection of intelligence, but rather a different way of processing information. "He's brilliant," she once said. "He just learns differently." With tutoring, assistive technologies, and constant family encouragement, Romulo has made significant strides. Monica frequently credits early intervention and a strong support system, including his father, Rodney "Rocco" Hill, for their son's growth. Sherri Shepherd. Comedian, actress, and talk show host, Sherri Shepherd has made millions laugh with her quick wit and candid charm on shows like The View, 30 Rock, and Less Than Perfect. But behind her success is a deeply personal role that has shaped her more than any spotlight ever could: being the mother of a son with developmental challenges. Her son, Jeffrey Charles Tarpley Jr., was born prematurely in 2005, weighing just 1 pound and 10 ounces. Due to complications from his early birth, Jeffrey has experienced a range of developmental delays. While Sherri has never publicly shared a specific diagnosis out of respect for his privacy, she's been transparent about his struggles with speech, motor skills, and learning. Raising Jeffrey as a single mom, Sherri often talks about the emotional roller coaster of parenthood, navigating doctor appointments, therapy sessions, and individualized education plans, IEPs, while balancing a high-pressure career. She has shared that she cried the day her son said his first sentence at 4 years old, describing it as the most beautiful sound. Instead of hiding her story, Sherri has used her platform to empower other mothers raising children with disabilities. She regularly emphasizes the importance of trusting parental instincts, seeking early intervention, and celebrating progress no matter how small. "I teach Jeffrey every day that he is lovable, brilliant, and enough," she says. Her honesty about the financial, emotional, and time demands of special needs parenting has opened the door for more inclusive conversations. Sherri Shepherd's life is proof that behind every smile on screen is a woman who's faced real challenges and met them with courage, compassion, and relentless love. Shanice Wilson and Flex Alexander. Singer Shanice Wilson, best known for her 1991 hit I Love Your Smile, and her husband, Flex Alexander, the charismatic actor from the sitcom One on One, have long been seen as a tight-knit and joyful couple in the entertainment world. But behind their public warmth lies a deeply personal journey. Raising their daughter, Imani Shekinah Knox, who was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, ASD. The signs became apparent during Imani's toddler years. Shanice noticed that her daughter wasn't engaging in typical speech patterns and was having difficulty connecting with others. The diagnosis was a heavy moment for both parents, filled with fear, uncertainty, and questions about the future. Yet, instead of withdrawing from the spotlight, they chose transparency. Shanice and Flex opened up about Imani's diagnosis in interviews and on their family reality show, Flex and Shanice, offering rare visibility into the everyday realities of raising a child with autism. From navigating the school system to managing therapy sessions, they shared their triumphs and struggles with authenticity and love. Now a teenager, Imani continues to grow and thrive with the support of her parents and tailored therapies. The family celebrates every milestone, big or small, and works to create an environment where Imani can flourish without shame or limits. Boris Kodjoe and Nicole Parker. Actor Boris Kodjoe, known for his roles in Soul Food, Station 19, and Code Black, and his wife Nicole Parker, acclaimed for her work in Boogie Nights and Empire, are often celebrated as one of Hollywood's most glamorous couples. But beyond the red carpets and perfect portraits, they've faced a deeply challenging and transformative experience, raising their daughter Sophie Tay Naki Lee Kodjoe, who was born with spina bifida. Spina bifida is a congenital defect of the spine that can cause physical disabilities, bladder and bowel dysfunction, and other long-term medical complications. Sophie's condition was discovered shortly after birth, and the early days were filled with fear and uncertainty. Doctors offered little in terms of guarantees, only a future full of therapy, surgery, and unknowns. Refusing to be passive, Boris and Nicole dove headfirst into research, advocacy, and action. In 2007, they founded Sophie's Voice Foundation, an organization dedicated to raising awareness, funding research, and supporting families affected by spina bifida. The foundation has since expanded its mission to include broader health equity efforts under the Kodjoe Family Foundation. The couple speaks openly about the importance of early intervention, nutrition, like folic acid intake during pregnancy, and emotional resilience. Their message is clear: disability is not a limitation. It's a different kind of strength. Sophie has undergone multiple surgeries but continues to shine with a vibrant personality and unshakable determination. By combining personal advocacy with public outreach, Boris and Nicole have become powerful allies for children with disabilities and their families. Their journey reflects not only the trials of parenting a child with medical needs, but the profound beauty in fighting for your child's dignity, future, and voice. John Salley. NBA veteran John Salley made history as the first player to win championships with 3 different teams: the Detroit Pistons, Chicago Bulls, and Los Angeles Lakers. Known for his defense, agility, and leadership on and off the court, Salley has since built a career as a television host, health advocate, and entrepreneur. But beyond the spotlight, one of his most defining roles is that of a father to a daughter with autism. While Salley has remained relatively private about the details of his daughter's diagnosis, he has been vocal about the importance of neurodiversity and acceptance. In interviews, he's spoken about the learning curve he faced when understanding how autism affects communication, behavior, and social interaction. He admits that it required a complete shift in how he viewed parenting, not trying to fix his child, but learning how to support her on her own terms. Salley emphasizes early intervention and therapy as essential tools, not just for development but for family cohesion. He's also a passionate advocate for dietary wellness and alternative medicine, noting that healthy nutrition has played a critical role in managing some of his daughter's sensory and behavioral challenges. What makes his story especially resonant is how he integrates advocacy into daily life. Whether he's speaking at conferences or appearing in media, Salley frequently reminds audiences that inclusion isn't optional, it's necessary. His perspective as both an elite athlete and a devoted parent helps bridge worlds that don't often intersect. Al Roker. Beloved broadcaster. Al Roker has been a morning TV staple for decades, best known as the weatherman and co-anchor of NBC's Today Show. His warm demeanor and signature laugh have made him one of America's most trusted media personalities. But behind his cheerful on-screen presence is a deeply personal story: raising a child with developmental disabilities. Al and his wife, journalist Deborah Roberts, are parents to Nicholas Albert Roker, who was born in 2002. Early on, Al and Deborah noticed developmental delays. Nicholas took longer to walk, talk, and adapt socially. After numerous evaluations, doctors confirmed that Nicholas had special needs, though the family has chosen not to disclose a specific diagnosis publicly, focusing instead on his abilities and milestones. Al has shared in heartfelt interviews how difficult it was at first to adjust to the unknowns. He confessed to struggling with fear, denial, and a sense of helplessness. But with Deborah's encouragement and a shared determination, they learned how to be strong advocates for their son. Nicholas has since blossomed into a bright, caring, and determined young man. He runs track, has completed triathlons, and was even named Person of the Year by Respectability in 2022 for being a role model within the disability community. Al often credits Nick's resilience as one of the most inspiring forces in his life. CeeLo Green. Known for his bold voice and even bolder personality, CeeLo Green, born Thomas DeCarlo Calloway, has left his mark on music with hits like Crazy, as part of Gnarls Barkley, and Forget You. He's a Grammy-winning artist, performer, and former coach on The Voice. But behind the glitter and eccentric showmanship, CeeLo also holds a quieter, more personal role: father to a son with autism. His son, Kingston, was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder during childhood. Though CeeLo has kept much of Kingston's life private, he's spoken in interviews about the unique bond they share and how fatherhood has transformed his understanding of communication, patience, and empathy. CeeLo has described Kingston as brilliant, creative, and deeply loving, noting that his son's way of seeing things is entirely his own. Rather than try to change that, CeeLo has worked to support Kingston's development, celebrate his strengths, and create a home where he can flourish. Behind every spotlight is a story of love, sacrifice, and strength. These 20 Black celebrities didn't just raise children, they became advocates, warriors, and voices for those often unheard. Which story moved you the most? Were there any you didn't expect? Let us know in the comments. We read everyone. If you believe these voices deserve to be heard, support the work we do at The Famous People by liking this video, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who needs to hear these stories. Because fame fades, but love, resilience, and representation matter more than ever.